All right,
Let me know when we're going
start
live.
up the other one.
When we get a,
All right, we're live. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. This week live from the Castro Castle. We have a whole bunch of really awesome guests for our show this week. All right. Ooh, hey, everybody. Hold on. To the Growing with Fishes podcast. This week from the There we go. Sorry. That happens every now and then. All right, so this week we have a whole bunch of different amazing guests to join us. A lot of them have played a huge role in how the medical cannabis movement got started, or how it got to be where it is today, and are still having a huge impact. First up, we actually have Wayne Justman. He's actually the medical patient #1. Thanks for joining us, Wayne.
My pleasure indeed. I was just looking at some of the medicine that this group of people that I'm sharing this with, plus Tappy, that this is what we enjoy. And we're fortunate to have here in the state of California and in San Francisco that we've had for the last 22 years an opportunity to use cannabis either for medical reasons and then just recently for adult use of cannabis. So all your listeners out there, I'll make it nice. Get up your butt and make this plant legal. Good evening. I hope I didn't throw them too many away, but God, it's only a plant. Anyway, what's going on, guys? Nice to have contact with you all out there as well. And Roger, good to talk with you, sir.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. We have a lot of fun on this show.
Yeah. And so our chat here too, from anyone on chat, you can see.
So put it up there?
Yep.
Good, okay.
So, what, you tell us about how you got started with the medical marijuana movement, and I know it has a lot to do with this place here in particular.
To give you some perspectives, I'm 73 years old. When I graduated college and degree in education, went to Chicago, and as a high school teacher for some 12 years of teaching and coaching. And at that time, believe this or not, the first time I used cannabis with some of my students. And they came over to my home, and I had to try cannabis because I heard a lot about it. But also, too, in the 70s, hell, I was doing some powder coke and some other things, etc. So I was a person of that culture in that particular time. So my curiosity was developed. But again, whatever I did, a drink or something like that, I had to be responsible because I had responsibilities as a teacher and coach. So my frequency would once or twice a week, maybe, to smoke, and certainly not to be able to drink or things like that. I had to stay functional. Now I'm paying for it now because I'm very dysfunctional. But anyway, I came out here in 1987, and through circumstances that were quite interesting, I ended up homeless. But what was interesting about that time is that I was staying across the street from City Hall. And at that time, there was discussion on feeding people and cannabis. Feeding people and cannabis, because the AIDS epidemic was just being, oh, hell, we got something going on with people. We don't know what it is. We've got something going on. And then with Food Not Bombs, they were out, Keith McHenry, they were out there, can't feed people. And I'm thinking to myself, something has happened to we as human creatures, that we are dysfunctional when we can't feed people, and then we can't give people something.
And when were feeding people and they charged them, the guy was busted two times, and if he got busted again, they would put him in under the 3 strikes.
Keith McHenry.
Feeding part people.
Exactly. And so
without a permit.
Yeah, and here's what's interesting today. And this varies from what your question is, how I got started. We'll get back to it.
Sure.
It started with compassion. And even today, we've got a representative here from a great collective, Sweetleaf Collective. They've been in existence soon after 1999 when we passed 215. And they have been providing cannabis product to people who have either fixed income or low income. And he'll tell the story about there. But again, going back, it was all about compassion. And right now, our state cannot figure out how the hell people can, quote, give cannabis to one another. And I saw Scott Weiner, who's trying to do something a few weeks ago, and I was a bit upset. I said, Scott, don't you realize that 215 says the Compassionate Use Act? And you said in the Bay Times it was an oversight? That you've got to do something about that. So anyway, let me get back to your statement. I was diagnosed HIV positive. As a matter of fact, 30 years ago today, July 12th, 1988, I was diagnosed cannabis. So some friends of mine had told me about the use of cannabis. And of course, being diagnosed, we had AZT and Xerit, and those were the only, quote, cocktails or pills that we had. But for us that were taking that, and we found that out from people who came into dentist facilities, 194 Church or 1444 Market, you didn't know if the damn medicine was going to kill you of the virus, because they both made you sick. You're already sick from the virus, but this other stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And this crap about Marinol, I gave it a try. Ain't all that. Ain't all that, because also, too, folks out there, they're going to start pushing synthetic cannabis. Yep. And GW Pharmaceuticals in Arizona or somewhere already got that through. Yep. And don't let them take this natural plant and put it into some damn pill and say it's equivalent to or better than whatever the hell it is. You can't buy that argument. Yep. Can't buy that argument. So somehow to continue on my dysfunctionality, explaining how I got involved in this, I heard of 194 Church Street, and they were just in the process of closing down. And I got in a few times. I just a patient, and this was cool as hell. I mean, you got a facility that you can come in, and one of the things that I noticed was people were receptive to you. Well, dentists soon moved to 1444 Market Street, and with that move, I knew I had to do. It felt I had to do something, and when I went there, who the hell is standing at the door is Dennis, you know, and I said, Dennis, I said, when you get an opportunity, I'd like to speak with you. I think we can help one another. Maybe a half hour later, he comes up on the third floor near the bar, and they were round table. Anyway, he sits down with me, and I busted out to him who, what, where, why, and when of what I've done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And our bottom line is, I said, I think we could help one another. And here I am 25 years later with the experiences that I had with that man, and then also to the experiences we had in making cannabis available in those days to sick and dying people, is what 215 said. But we've expanded that to now even adult use of cannabis, which is fine. I really object to recreational cannabis. Christ, I take a ball and throw it to somebody. That's recreation. I'm not sitting here with friends and, hey, let's recreate, Pip. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna smoke.
Yeah, it's negating that all use is medical.
Well, it was. I think that's a very simple thing to speak of.
All uses is recreation. You don't take it to feel bad.
You take it to feel better, and that's something I think that we as a society have taken hook, line, and sinker the bullshit about cannabis is a drug, or it does something wrong with this, or does something wrong with that, when it's had a history of mankind going thousands of years with the Chinese, other dynasties, et cetera, and other civilizations have used it. Yet we buy this scare tactics. Oh, and bring in those white Christians. Oh, I need them to tell me what I got to do. Oh, do I need them? And especially, give me those white Christian males I can scare the hell out of. That it's marijuana coming here, and not only that,
some Republicans too.
I mean, and not only that, you know, that cannabis, they're going to have our women going down there, New Orleans, and that jazz music, and they're going to have sex with those black people. Oh my God!
That was the fear.
The 1930s all over again.
Also, with the Mexican Revolution happened right in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and there was a big influx of people strictly fleeing the war in Mexico, and they happened to use cannabis as medicine, and that was a way to target them and still be good Christian folk and say, oh, well, it's not because of the Mexican, it's because they use marijuana. And then knowing full well it was just a veil for racism.
And this is how our government was able to control the cannabis from the Mexicans coming over from the border, because they knew they grew this stuff and used it. Well, if we can take that away or control it somehow, we're not going to control that society.
The way to control
so all of this, our government has done that so well, and it's even doing it today. It's a shame what's going on. But so I got started with Dennis in 92, 3, 4, and he closed in 98. It took me a year to find another building, and I found that in 1999. So I opened what at that time San Francisco Patients Resource Center, and it stayed at the Divisadero for about 8.5 years or something like that. When I soon did that in the year 2000, we only had a half a dozen clubs, something like that, here in San Francisco. And I also know that we needed something to identify us as patients. So with the work of the district attorney, who my dear friend was, Terrence Hallinan, and Mark Leno and a few other people, I sat down and wrote the legislation. That's where I keep that piece of paper. I don't have. Anyway, I wrote down this idea of the card, and we had great working relationship with the supervisors then and the mayor. And so within several months, it was proposed and talked with at committee level, and then the supervisor level, and passed by there, and then signed by our mayor. And in July of 2000, the first card was issued. And at that time, I got some pushback on people. Well, we don't want to register this. The only thing I could do is I'm gonna be in line. And that Monday morning when they opened up, I was there. And somebody has to do it. Someone has to do it. And for myself, I felt I was in a pretty good position to be that someone. Okay. And so that's how that got involved. And then what I did in the years after I left 350 was helped. I think there were 9 different dispensaries from here down to Southern California that I helped open, use political influence or my expertise and things of this nature. And now basically what I do is hang around with some people who, I guess if Hillary Clinton were here, she'd say deplorable. But great family here, etc. And I work. I still try to do what I can for the cannabis community.
What is your expertise? You mentioned that you used your expertise. So what is your expertise?
My expertise in cannabis?
Well, you said I use my expertise.
What you're saying?
Yeah.
I just smoke the damn stuff. I'm not trying to be funny.
I know, but I just had to throw that out there. What is your expertise? Yes.
Growing, I have none in growing cannabis.
Your political
my political thing. Hell, I've been. I was when I went to college. I was.
I wrote that for you, Wayne.
Thank you very much. I was the student government leader in 1966-67 when we were fighting the damn war, Vietnam War, and we also had segregation. And those are two things as a college kid that I really objected to. And so that's where politics started. But then when I moved to Chicago, Illinois, I got involved in politics, both at the city level, the town level in Cicero, and then in Chicago, Cook County, and then also too that took it to the state government with Springfield, and then obviously national politics. And I was there for 17 years, and then I got a position with Marriott Corporation because I want to learn business. And the only thing I'd been into was teaching and things like that. So I moved to Washington, D.C., and for 2 years, I worked with Marriott Corporation at their headquarters in Bethesda, Maryland. And the only thing of consequence that I can remember there was I backed into the chairman of the board, Bill Marriott, with a cup of coffee and damn near spilled it on him. You're going to spill coffee on somebody, you might as well make it somebody important. Throw it at the garbage. So, and then I came out here. And I've been here for 30 years. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the profile I have in the cannabis community, because what I found with that profile is a couple of responsibilities that I have is, one, to try to educate people out here about this plant. And then second of all, with whatever context or experience that I have, to try to help people, paperwork, et cetera, because our government's really making a problem right now. So there's expertise. If you want to call that being an expert, I don't know. But I got about 50 years in trying to put X, Y, and Z together. And fortunately, we work pretty well with it.
Well, thanks. That answers my questions. I just knew when you said I use my expertise in my political collection, or people, that nobody knew what your expertise was. So that's excellent.
I appreciate that, because again, with my limited expertise, that's about it. And as I say, as far as practical manners, I was with Dennis for several years at 1444 Market Street, and worked with city politics here. And then I opened my own dispensary. So that's practical experience here. But then I look at a side package of a thing the other day. 11362.5, SB 420, and there was something else. And I'm thinking to myself, my fingerprints are on all three of those things. And I said, that's really interesting, because having been there and shared it with a lot of other folks, not just, I remember being interviewed one time, I think for High Times or something like that. And all right, they wanted, let me like this. And they wanted to say something. And I think the first thing I said, recognize the patients. Because again, if it wasn't for the patients and the people that were sick, we'd have never had the 215. We had the AIDS epidemic. We didn't figure out what the hell that was. But we did have cannabis, and we were able to put medical and cannabis together, and we have medical marijuana, and it's exciting. It's still confusing, but it's the right thing to do. What happened?
I know that you also have been involved in some cultivating projects. Didn't you work with Dennis up in
Humboldt County?
Sonoma?
I mean, Lake County.
Yeah, Lake County.
One of the great things that Dennis enjoyed, he got this farm up in Lake County, and it was a ranch. It was a huge one-floor ranch, and they had a porch, a kitchen, a large bathroom shower, and then they had a hallway, and then they had 1, 2, 3. They had 4 bathrooms, and then they had one very large. If you knocked all this thing down, about the size of this, it was a living room. All right, and then also too, they had a separate cottage on the outside, which is a little bit more private, a little bit more fancy, et cetera, et cetera. And somehow, when I was there, I slept out there. But of course, we played card games to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and by 6 o'clock, anyway. But yeah, we grew cannabis up there, and as a matter of fact, I remember, we got busted up there. The feds and local people busted us, and we had played War or Risk, whatever the hell the board game.
Risk.
Yeah. So to about 2 in the morning, and it was a Saturday morning, and we put online that we're going to have an open house, and we're going to chop down some plants, et cetera, et cetera, and give some cannabis away. And Dennis said to us, he said, make sure that you wear something to bed tonight, because you may be awakened unexpectedly. Well, I don't own underwear. What the hell do you mean?
I heard you, brother. I hear you, brother.
Anyway, all right. So I'm out here, and then what's interesting is now I'm in a room, and one of these sliding extra rooms where you have just a screen and a door, like an extra thing. Well, that was the porch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at about 6 or 6, I hear bang, bang, bang on that sound. Whoa, holy shit. And then from what was behind me, which was a kitchen, which had another door, bang. I mean, bang. I don't know what the hell's going on. So I open up the window shade, and I look out, and cops are running here and cops are running there, and they got tools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're filming some crazy thing. No, we're not. And then I said, so I opened up, I put something on. I wasn't gonna please them all. Anyway.
Well, no free shows for the cops, right? You gotta work for it.
So anyway, I put something on, and they're there, okay? And of course, they got the guns right at me. I think there were about 3. And I don't open up anything, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, I'm gonna let you in, but you can't restrain me. I'm gonna cooperate with you, but I will not. Do not handcuff me in any respect. Is that understood? And they said, okay. So they come in and identify myself. I said, I'm so and so and so. Show my identification, and they don't restrain me. I tell them I'm here with the farm. Those are my plants, our plants as a collective. This is for us here and for our dispensary down in San Francisco. So they detained me for about 15 minutes. And I'm hearing all the walkie-talkie stuff going on. So they finally call sending one to chief location coming over. All right, let's go. So I got 2 people escorting me. I mean, I'm dangerous now. You know that? And I think the reason why I'm dangerous, I ain't had anything to smoke. These guys are waking me up. No, really, don't wake me up at 6:30. I'm supposed to be here to enjoy myself. This is a ranch. This is for us as patients to enjoy. And those of us as patients, we enjoyed that. Boy, there was a lot of good things going on. And so anyway, they got 2 guys, would you believe, with shotguns in front of the door into the ranch. Like, what the hell are you guys expecting, you know? And so they open the door, and I walk in, and here is Dennis, the first guy I see. He's on his knees like this, and I got 11 of my friends in the same thing. I said to this guy, you can't expect me to get down like this, do you? I said, could you please just allow him to get up, let him sit? Yeah, okay, you know. So then they take us one by one to the kitchen or something like that and start all this other shit. So I'm sitting there and follow my lead. Yeah, excuse me. I have to use the washroom. Can I get up? So they had somebody go to the washroom. Come back. Don't you need a drink of water? Took a minute. Can I? Working them just a little bit, and we got this started. You know, hey, could I do this, or I need to use the washroom, or something, this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what was funny, they were gathering whatever the hell they could find. Okay, they were gathering whatever they could find, and they found some stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And so after about an hour, something like that, their pictures and whatever they took of us, et cetera, et cetera. You can hear the doors of the cars closing and the motor starting, and you hear the tires on the gravel, and we're all scattering like roaches. Lights just turned on. We ain't going nowhere. We're going to find a cannabis that they didn't find. They didn't look under here. They didn't know what I mean. Got to come out and really. So we came out with a whole lot of stuff. But that was a great farm, and unfortunately, it was burned down a few years ago. And we lost it. Dennis left in about 98 or something like that. But just a great piece. And we took patients up there. That was what it's all about. You could take 10, 50 people up there. There was a pond. The water was very cold. But it was a great area, just a great area to go up and relax. We had open houses many times. People came by, and we shared whatever cannabis that we had, and they came by with a whole lot of stuff. And it was a great experience. But like I said, our government had to screw that up. But not much of a grower. You know why I don't have growers? Let's see. Jerry Munn, Laura Costa, Ken. Those are just 3 people that I'm fortunate to know in this movement who provides, Joe Sweetleaf from the Sweetleaf Collective, who provide cannabis to the castle, to many of us, et cetera, et cetera. I'm very pleased that we have that working rapport. So we still care about one another. And to me, I don't know why that's I can't. What I was thinking about this the other day. For myself and it's instinctive to care. Hell, I could be watching with the kids in the cave the other day and cry a little bit, and people who I watch television by myself because I'm in it. But I mean, it's how can you not feel for other people? I don't understand that. How can you not have empathy? And I think I made the speech some time ago. If your life does not have empathy, your spirit must really be empty.
Dark. Black.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit more how the LGBT movement really helped, the medical marijuana movement even, become where it was?
If it were not for the AIDS epidemic that developed in the 80s, and when this disease first developed, no one knew what the hell it was. And then as time went on, what little we knew, you stayed the hell away from them. Oh, there we go again. All right. There we go again. But I think and especially upstairs in this beautiful historic building, Castro Castle, was Jonathan and Dennis, who shared for many years a very strong love. What was difficult for them both is that Jonathan got sick and Dennis had to be there to his side, the young man who he loved, to watch him die. And for those of us that have watched people with this disease, like many other diseases, it's not very pretty. Not very pretty at all. And it was affecting the AIDS community, which obviously was a gay community. And many of them found solace here. And Dennis, 1990, threw in Pop Pre. They'd already had Pop W years ago, low priority. And again, Prop P with, again, let's not arrest people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then moved from here to an apartment a few blocks away. And again, to help people. This movement was not bent at that time on making money. Who the hell are you going to make money off? These sick people who don't have anything?
Yeah.
Who come from the Tenderloin Housing Clinic hotels, who have branches all over? You're going to make money off of these people? No. Give it away. Give it away. And don't also forget about Brownie Mary. Oh, what a creature she was. And if you were one of her kids, you had a grandmother for life because she took care of you. And the thing of it is, she took risks. This little woman from Marin County to put these brownies together with cannabis. Shit, you'd think she was putting bombs together to destroy something. She's making something to help people live better. And she was harassed again by our government. And her and Dennis hooked up and made a great combination. And I remember she was always there at 1444 and always among her kids. And again, at that time, there was no judgment. No judgment. And the reason why most of the people were all sick. Most of the people came from Tenderloin Housing Clinic hotels. No one was better than anybody else. And we just made sure that the hell they were experiencing outside that building never occurred inside that building. There was always a shoulder. Always a shoulder. always a hug from all of us. And I made damn sure as Big Daddy I give as many hugs as I could because it helped a whole lot of people. And what I cherish now is the memory I have of so many of those people I hugged because they're not here.
Yeah, I was on the New York dance scene. I was involved with, I had a lot of friends and dancers in New York. I was a musician there playing in American School for the Dance at Alvin Ailey School. And one of the first people that got it there was he was the headmaster of the school, of Alvin Ailey School. And, you know, back in those days, we didn't even know what AIDS was. You know, he died of Kaposis sarcoma, I believe, you know, was his official.
Yeah, they had a bunch of names first. Yeah, right. Yeah.
We didn't know. We were starting to call it immune deficiency or starting to get names for it back in those days.
You name it, that crap.
But there were so many kids. There were so many young kids that got it on the dance scene in New York City. You wouldn't believe it. Like promising young choreographers, kids in their 20s that were, you know, phenomenal future
and the use of
artists
in those days. Dancing didn't help the situation either. Challenged even more the immune system. But they were quite popular in those days. I remember
they lived on cigarettes and coffee.
This goes in Chicago in the 70s. I didn't have to take a bottle there. All I had to do is get on this dance floor and smell. Oh, here we go on this.
Wow. Wow. That's
about Mary, Brownie Mary. She was very brave. She took brownies into the hospitals, right? She was a warrior.
Let me say this. I was tempted many times, but I never did. I wanted to lift her skirt up and just see how big and brass her balls were. I really she took every challenge head on. And I remember we've got some film of her speaking in a truck. And she's out here and angry. Bullshit with those regulations. Bullshit with this is medicine for my children. And that is what motivated that lady. And for most of us, it was for medical use. It's a plant. Give the damn stuff away. I know one of the things that Dennis and I on the way up to the farm, we go by the grape fields. And I see grape. What the hell do you think our thought was? Maybe someday that's all going to be cannabis. I hope that can come about. I hope that come about. And Brownie Mary, just her strength and her wisdom and her genuine caring. Besides having a filthy mouth, she was lovable. she was lovable. For those of you that, let me qualify what I just said. Brownie Mary was very well known for a very tough mouth, and use your imagination to figure that out. Then she was a doll.
Cuss like a sailor, right?
Yeah. I wish I could share this with your viewers here. I wish I could share this, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of other people here that you need to hear from, you know. But they wanted to start with me because then it proceeds down to. I don't want to say this. Anyway, go ahead. What you got to get some of these other people. What happened?
Well, we can give you a break if you want. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we tried to get you on the show a couple of months ago, and we had some technical difficulties. But
technical difficulties, hell, I couldn't figure out my computer. Really? He said, "Dude, I couldn't do it." I told Steve when I said, "Steve, I'm going to do your show." Yeah. And I thought, okay, we got it hooked up. But I'm excited. I want to help. Steve's a great guy, and I wanted to get his show. And he calls, I got to hook up, and you know. Steve, I can't. And he said, Wayne, do this and do that. And no. But listen, I'm glad you're here. As I say, there's some wonderful folks here that you're going to, one of Dennis's brothers here. Actually,
you want to tell us, maybe just to finish off, how you met Dennis?
I met Dennis at 194 Church Street. That was the first time I met him. But the first time we really hooked up was when, like I said, that day, probably a week after he opened 1444 Market Street, he was at the door when I came over there to register and all. And I told you, I said, Dennis, I said, we need to talk. I said, I think I can help you and you can help me. Because again, for all of the years I've had in politics at different levels and being HIV positive, and even though I have a college degree, I don't know shit. Okay, I got a Wayne attended school and give him a bachelor's degree. But so and then also too, I figured that was a pretty good character person to be out here and spread the news of it. I mean, and I guess it's been history. We've done this a long time, and there's so many wonderful people in this movement, but right now they're just being, anyway, a lot of people in this movement that are great people. They really, really are. And there's some here in this room that I hope, anyway, we have a talent here that's just a great singer, and we've got beautiful people here, and some other people, and we've got one. Oh, I don't have to introduce myself to all these things. But we got. I hope that's more questions. And if you want me back to say something else, I'll be more than happy to do that.
I'd like to ask you one question before you go. Since you brought up Castro Castle and you're in Castro Castle, the show's in Castro Castle tonight, why don't you, because a lot of people out here, listeners, don't have any idea what Castro Castle is. So how can you explain that to everybody?
This building was purchased by Dennis in 1982. It has 3.5 levels. I have no idea the square footage of this because it is long and huge. I hope that sometime, maybe just to walk through this and see what this is. At one time, Dennis had this as a bed and breakfast, and folks all over the world used to come here and just for the experience. And I know myself coming over here, I had no idea who the hell I was going to meet or from where they were from. And it was so enjoyable. But we got away from that a little bit as Dennis's health started to decline. And now they have a number of friends who live in the building itself and maintain it. The mural outside is done for Gilbert Baker, who was the developer of the gay rainbow flag. And Gilbert at one time lived in the castle. And so we've got a plaque out there dedicated to him and to his memory and all. And if you go online and look for Castro Castle, they're going to show you a photo. It painted like a castle. We had a good friend, Max Harris, years ago that painted it. But now it's basically for residences. I hope that in the near future, and I know one thing too, people who do come here and come inside and visit with us and all, they cherish the experience for the significance of what they feel, and they share with the energies here and the history of the people who have moved through here. Because anybody that had anything to do with cannabis in the 80s and the 90s and 2000s had to come through here. If you never got here, then I'm going to question, who the hell are you? And what have you done? This is where you learned, you shared ideas, you've got the inspiration. This is where you learn that what you're doing is right. And so what we do here, I hope is right. You got to come through the castle, though. Jesus, you got to come through the castle.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of invites to come out there. When I make it out there, I'll get with Steve and see if we can drop by.
Let me say this. If Steve, are you able to film the walls?
Yeah, I'll do that with this.
All right, listen.
I wanted to see
that. I hope you enjoy that.
I wanted to see the movie. I wanted y'all project the movie on the wall of your friend that had the brownies.
Oh, Brownie Mary.
Yeah, you Brownie Mary. You said we've got video. We got a film. Like,
No, we do.
that'd be cool sometime.
Yeah, Jeff,
I'll
we're
link
here.
it. I'll link
It's
it.
online.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the
Yeah,
description.
he's got it. It's got it online. That's one of the fortunate things that we have.
Maybe
We have a lot of recorded history of the movement. A lot of people took film and photos, et cetera, et cetera. There are some of us that are still here to talk about it, who actually were here at that time. Our numbers are slowly vanishing, et cetera, et cetera. Like,
right.
but we've got some great folks that are moving forward with this movement.
Well, thanks. That's an awesome way to show it, and yeah, and Steve can get his little thing together and show us some pictures and all. So I guess you better let somebody else have a chance now. Thank you, Wayne. I love you, man.
Go next, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Wayne, for everything you've done.
Oh,
for
my
the
pleasure.
cannabis community. Hopefully, many years more.
So, hey,
I'm just kidding too. Everybody knows I'm just kidding, right?
I'll take 60 seconds on my Instagram. So when
That's
we start
great.
talking,
That was wonderful.
That was awesome.
That's Joe from Greenleaf. You're famous, Joe. Everybody recognizes you.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Taffy likes.
Why don't
Okay.
you go ahead?
Oh, go ahead. All right, good. Oh, we're muted again. Well, I have an announcement to make real quick. We have one of our moderators and panel members that is in the hospital now, Aquaponic Dummy, and he's got a GoFundMe account, fund-the-dummy, D-U-M-M-E, and we'd like you to go look at that if you have a few dollars to spare for our friend in the hospital. We would appreciate it to help him pay his bills and catch up with. He's got a big building and he's a caregiver in Maine, a licensed caregiver. He's in the hospital and his building's going downhill, and his business and electrical bills are piling up, and we're trying to help him out. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but since y'all gave me a second, I had to segue into that. And now back to Sweetleaf. There's let's see.
Oh, they were.
You keep being muted. I can't hear anything. It's fun with the mics open tonight, I think.
All right.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. We're back. So why don't you tell us what your name is and a little about yourself?
So I am Sweetleaf Joe, and I am the founder and director of the Sweetleaf Collective. And we started in 1996 providing free medical cannabis to low-income terminally ill patients here in San Francisco. And that makes us the second oldest medical marijuana group in the state of California.
That's awesome. So how did you get started first working with Dennis and the movement?
Well, it's interesting. It's funny Wayne brought up Food Not Bombs because that's where I made my start. I was a young 20-year-old activist new to San Francisco, and Proposition 215 passed in 1996. And I thought, well, why don't we do Food Not Bombs for medical cannabis? And so what Food Not Bombs does is it takes surplus from the food industry and gives it to those most in need, who are homeless people. And I thought, well, why don't we take the surplus cannabis and get it to the people who are low income and terminally ill because they can't afford it, and it's going to help prolong their lives. And so that's how it started.
What are some of the best strains or different, have you seen difference between different strains, and then also how concentrates have come on and how much difference that makes for people?
What I find is all cannabis in general really helps out with HIV and AIDS, and also with cancer, primarily for appetite stimulation. You know, with wasting syndrome, with HIV, you can see people losing 30 or 40 pounds in a month. And we have some patients that they can't eat unless they smoke a joint. And so it doesn't really matter. Like some strains are working better or not as good, but it seems like all cannabis is helping people medically who have these conditions.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you find patients to work with, or how does that, whole system work?
Well, we use flyers. We're kind of old school, you know, we're like back in the 90s. And so we do flyers because, you know, we had to be under the radar for a long time. When I first started Sweetleaf, the federal government was cracking down on doctors. They were trying to take away doctors' licenses for just discussing cannabis with their patients. So, you know, from the beginning, we were really concerned that we would face federal charges for breaking the law to help save people's lives. And so it was all word of mouth. That was also how we found cultivators and donors. People would talk about us, and, you know, we started small. It was just 5 patients that we took care of. And now we have between around 150 and 200 patients that we take care of. We just recently expanded to Los Angeles, which is really awesome, because I would like to see this project spread and just take care of more and more people. I always fantasize what it would look like to take care of like 1,000 people or 10,000 people, you know.
So if somebody's a grower, how would they get involved with you if they say had some extra stuff and wanted to donate?
Well, they can contact us. My email is sweetleafjoe@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Instagram. We're Sweetleaf Bay Area. And currently what we are doing is we're just working within the regulated, permitted framework in California now. So unfortunately, we aren't allowed to work with anyone without a permit. Which, you know, is a little disheartening. It just started at the beginning of this year. Previously, we were able to take, you know, pounds from anyone. Last year, we gave away over 100 pounds of cannabis for free. Since our inception, we've given away, you know, over a 1/4 ton of cannabis.
That's amazing.
People that really need it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, we try to have impact, and it's funny too because we're just a small group. You know, it's never been more than 5 people involved, and you know, it gets me out of bed in the morning.
So you spoke that January 1st really affected you. Do you want to talk about that, or at least how things were before and after, and the negative consequences of the current legalization?
Yeah, it's been a bit of an uphill battle. So now we are not personally allowed to dispense cannabis. Previously, as you may have noticed on our flyer, there's a bike because we were bike delivering it to everybody's homes because a lot of our patients have mobility issues or they're housebound, and so they can't really go anywhere to get their cannabis, let alone pay for it. So now the big issue is that we have to partner with people who do have permits. And thankfully, there is still compassion in this industry. So we are seeing compassionate individuals coming forward. You know, we've been working with Spark here in San Francisco and Magnolia Wellness over in Oakland. And we recently partnered with Green Earth down in LA, and also Oz, Alternative Health and Healing Services in West Hollywood. And so we're not able to touch the medicine anymore. Now we're more coordinating things. So I'll coordinate permitted growers and manufacturers. And then we have a distribution company that's permitted that we work with, True Humboldt, which I like to give a plug out to them. And so we can get the medicine to dispensaries, and then we organize all our patients to get them to the dispensaries on certain days so that they can pick their medicine out.
So you basically have become an expediter of what you started.
Yeah. We're like it's kind of like we're a brand now, but we're a brand that doesn't make any money.
No, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
It's incredible. incredible story that you do that. That people in this day and age would do anything to give anybody to actually lose money. I think that's just incredible, and I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like what Dennis did. A lot of us who've been around in this industry since the '90s. The reason that we're still around is we weren't really concerned about making money. We understood that this was changing people's lives, and that this was an opportunity for us to be of service to fellow humans.
Well, it was all taking care of each other too, wasn't it? You were really all about you took care of each other. So then you were allowed to take care of others.
Yeah, and what Wayne was talking about, empathy and compassion, I feel like those of us who've been doing this, we feel like we've led more fulfilling lives. And one thing I would like to riff on with Wayne too is that compassion is empathy in action. That's my little tagline.
Nice.
You like that
song?
You can use that. You can use that.
Thank you.
It's not trademarked yet.
Let me see. Empathy is action.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Why don't you tell people how to find you and how they can support you and any other ways that they can support you?
Cool. So we're Sweetleaf Collective. You can check our website out at sweetleafcollective.org. You can email me at sweetleafjoe, which is JOE, at Gmail, and definitely follow us on Instagram. We always have posts about what's happening. Currently, there's SB 829, which is a bill in Sacramento to take away all the taxes to compassionate cannabis, because that's been a big issue since January 1st. A lot of programs have had to shut down, or they're not giving stuff away. We're not giving away as much as we gave away last year, because with these new taxes, we would be on the hook this year to pay $200,000 in taxes if we gave away the same amount of cannabis that we gave away last year. So it's really a tragedy, but we're fighting it, and we are hopeful that we will win this battle, much like we've won all the battles before. So
how would people support that if they want to get involved?
Like I said, you can find us online and we can plug you in. If you are a resident of California, call your assemblyman and call your senator and tell them to support SB 829. It's a bill that's being put forth by Senator Wiener. We have passed through 2 committees so far. The first with an 11 yes vote with only 1 no vote. The second committee was 8 yes votes with only 1 no vote. And so we're hoping to see it on the floor of the assembly to get voted on in August. Now, because this is in regards to Proposition 64 and it's going to affect taxes, we need a supermajority vote. What that means is we need a 2/3 majority vote. This is really important. Everyone who's in California, call your politicians, call your elected representatives, send them emails and tell them that they need to support this, because there's a lot of people out there that are not receiving compassionate cannabis because of these taxes. We're still in operation, but it's in a much smaller way than we were before, and we would just love to ramp things up and give away as much as we gave away before.
And their needs have not gone away.
Exactly. These people's needs have not gone away. And like I mentioned before, with wasting syndrome, someone can lose 30 or 40 pounds in 30 days. This is serious, and lives are on the line, and we need to do everything in our power to correct this oversight.
Definitely. And folks out there, if you call your politicians and they don't help you out, just remember they're a renewable resource, and you can vote them out. Search out, seek out, and find and support politicians that'll help the medical marijuana community for sure.
Yep. That's why we got to be lookout for those legalization and name only bills that we talk about so often on the show.
Oh yeah, we hit on this all the time, back and forth on week after week on some of this stuff, but it's so great. This is great tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll take a second while we switch people here.
Hey, y'all make sure that Wayne didn't think I was being mean to him, right?
He says, yeah, good. You can ask him.
All right, let me get back here. Let me get back here.
Steve, what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Potent Ponics.
Oh, golly. Who being mean to me?
P-O-T-E-N-T.
Not me. I was just saying. I was kidding with you. I thought you. Yeah, I didn't think you caught my joke at the end. You know, I was like, I wasn't rushing you off. I was trying to make.
No. But we also there's some other interesting people here. You know, it's something I forgot to say. Are we still broadcasting with all of them?
Yeah.
Something I forgot to say. There are people all over the country who right now are having legal problems.
Yes.
A grower, provider of some sort, they're having legal problems. They're being harassed, threatened with eviction from their home or their property, or that not only eviction, but taking that away from somebody. We got to remember what we called cannabis warriors, those people who right now are being challenged because of laws. If you know of anyone throughout our country, here in California and on the West Coast, or in the Midwest, or on the East Coast, who's having some kind of a legal problem, check into it. If nothing else, become informed on what their hill is, because you might be climbing up that hill yourself someday. And if you can reach out to them, many of them need financial help. Neither of them need any help what you have, financial or legal, or if nothing else, send words of encouragement. It's not easy for us that have been through that to be left hanging. Dennis himself, 22 times arrested. And I've got folks around me that continue to be harassed. And I know myself, the harassment that I've gotten. It said, all right, the price you pay. But the reason why we pay that price is because what we do is the right thing.
Hear, hear.
So I'm asking everybody out there, if you know of somebody that needs some help, send out some money, some well wishes to send something to their family. It's a tough time for them, but let's look out for these people that are in need of help. Absolutely. All over they are, from here to Maine.
And even a few bucks. It's just if you say I don't have just a few bucks. You don't have to try to be a big, big sponsor. Just any few bucks might buy them a meal or something. Some
put money on their books, let alone pay for some lawyer.
Yep.
But really, I mean, so many of our friends go through this crap. Yep. I know our friend Eddie left. I communicated always when Eddie was in prison out here in Colorado. It's crazy. And like I said, Dennis, 22 times, and how many of our friends that are in prison? Oh, can I tell a quick story? We were at a lot of our patients sometimes got into some legal problems, and so we heard from a guy who had just spent some time in San Quentin, which is a prison out here in Northern California, and a real monster of a prison. So anyway, it was during the time of 215, and a lot of news was covering 1444 and Dennis and myself. And so in a prison, they have at that time a television room or something like that where the inmates could go and sit and watch television. So apparently they were watching the local news, and a story about Dennis and I in 1444 comes up, and our friend says to him, everybody, hey, there's Wayne and Dennis. There's Wayne and Dennis. And they thought that was funny. I thought that was funny too, because all those friends, no matter what they were our friends, and we cared about them. And they shouldn't have been there in the first place. But that was funny. There's Wayne and whatever.
Would you be willing to tell the story about the time he got arrested and then he told the cop about his shoes? Or is that
my shoes, his shoes, whose? No,
Didn't he get arrested when he was walking into court? He made a comment about a cop's shoes or something, and the guy snapped at him and got the court thing ended.
oh yeah, I mean, Dennis had,
A whole bunch of different times he's had over
yeah,
time.
Dennis, I mean, 22 times being arrested. Dennis had what I would say a very quick wit. He really, and he used it, and he was very efficient with it. And most of the time his wit was caring, but sometimes at the right time they were a little bit pointed. And in this instance, the attire of this police officer, et cetera, and Dennis, you know, he came in and said, he knows fashion, you know what I mean? And so made this comment, and the police officer took exception to it. I'm not sure if the police officer learned anything about how properly to dress, but Dennis gave him, it said, he was a great man. His brother, matter of fact, right behind me is his brother, Jeff. And Jeff, they're waiting for you to come online here. So let me get out of this hot seat. And folks,
We'll see you in a while, Wayne.
what happened?
We'll see you in a while.
Yeah, anyway, listen, by the way, I got to go anyway because I'm going to dab right now, okay?
Yeah, that's why I said we'll see you in a while.
I'm going to let all you guys out there. I wish you had to come out here to California and dab with us. Hell, it's all good. Jeff.
Yeah, I'd love to.
You're crazy.
Yeah. This is crazy. Yeah, I love it. You're right, Steve. Great show tonight, buddy.
Thanks, Wayne.
Birds of a feather.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, all right. That's just like Jeff.
I can sit with Carl.
We can go together.
And we can have my wife.
A team.
She's coming through here
Yeah.
now.
Is there room? Here we go. The first 60 seconds is important, right?
Is it?
All right.
All right. So, yeah. So why don't
Yeah.
you tell us, Cara, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll do Jeff afterwards.
Yeah, I'm Cara Cordoni. I'm a San Franciscan that grew up in the Castro and around the corner in the Haight. And I didn't really get to know Dennis until the last few years of his life, and spent quite a bit of time with him, taking him out to events, which he really enjoyed after his stroke and after surviving lung cancer. Getting out and being in the community and being recognized really lit him up. And we did a project for Dennis, a calendar. We have another project coming up. But before we talk about that, I'll hand it over to Jeff.
I'm Jeff Fraun. I'm Dennis's youngest brother. While Dennis was changing the world, I was living in New York. I worked in the manufacturing business for 25 years. And for the last 2 years, I was out here, and I got to meet some very good friends like Cara and Laura and Wayne and Dan. And I will say, in the time since my brother has passed, thousands of people have reached out to me, telling me what an impact Dennis has made in their lives. And it all has been very, very moving. And I have read all of the messages that have come into me. And all the people that have, contacted me in person, it is very, very moving. It's almost hard to comprehend. And I say there have been thousands of messages. I mean that. It was the next day. It was overwhelming. And I want to thank everybody. I worked a lot with my brother on the calendar.
Yeah, there's Dennis.
There's Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis, the cancer survivor.
Dennis was a very generous man.
And so, we made this commemorative calendar. We were making it while he was alive, and then unfortunately lost him in January. And so we went ahead and made the calendar, which is a way to introduce people to Dennis, and we got to have fun with it. We wiped out all the calendar dates and only have like the moon cycle and gay history and cannabis dates. And Dennis loved that, of course. And so we have a new project. There's this, and people can contact me on my email. Can you guys post my email?
Sure,
Or,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, if you would like a calendar, we are still collecting donations for them. So like $5 to $10. They started in April, so we're only less than halfway through the calendar. And the funds that we raise at this point, so we paid for the production of the calendar, and then funds from the calendar went to Dennis's memorial.
It's a collective item as well.
And it's
Really.
now a collector's
Right,
item is what Wayne is saying. And because it's a limited run and won't ever happen again and all that. When we sell these, the funds are going towards putting up a mural of Dennis. So the idea is to have a big, beautiful mural of Dennis somewhere in the Castro, ideally, maybe on Market Street, looking down Market, kind of watching over all of us. And we have an amazing artist who has donated his time. The funds would go to pay for the paint and for scaffolding should we need it. And so, yeah, that's Mad Steez so far, who is represented here, and we'd love to bring him to town and put him to work. My mission, I guess, is like I just want to introduce people to Dennis. He so inspired me, even as at the end of his life, where he suffered a lot. And I feel so graced for having had that time with him. And I know that he still touches people when they learn about his story and what he did and his fucking moxie and chutzpah and, his humor and his humanity. Because, he was just a real mensch. He just was so inspired by losing the love of his life and by watching all these people around him were the misfits and the weirdos. And in San Francisco used to round up hippies too. It wasn't, they'd round up gay folks, they'd round up hippies. Even though this was a progressive city, it wasn't kind of a panacea that we think of it as now, that we try to protect. And so he was part of laying all that foundation. And when you come to the Castro Castle, when you walk in, it says, welcome, this is Dennis Peron's Garden of Social Change. And so, he was a gay veteran, Vietnam vet, hippie, outlaw, and he brought this to us. And so spreading the Garden of Social Change was he fed people, he got people medicine, and he loved people. Like when you were in his presence, you really felt seen and loved and appreciated, even though he had trouble loving himself that he talked about, he was really able to love others, and that was palpable. So I'm here to continue that, to introduce people to Dennis. This mural would be a great way to continue that. And yeah, so hit us up if you'd like a calendar, if you'd just like to donate to the mural. We're happy to take that.
Awesome. I thought it was a garden too, right?
Yeah, well, all around when you come in, there's succulents in particular. There's
the Garden of Social Change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Years ago, and not so much anymore, people would come knocking on the door and wanted to have their picture taken by the little in the front there, by Dennis Peron's Garden of Social Change. Not gonna. Hi, I'm Jan from Sweden. I'd like to have my picture taken here. That really happened.
Decent accent.
I don't know if his name was Jan. I was like, wow. Yeah, sure. Yeah. You want me to take the picture for you? At first, I was like, really? You want your picture taken here? Okay.
It was funny you mentioned how funny Dennis was. That was my first experience with Dennis. I was helping him down some stairs when I first met him, and there was some reporter from, I don't remember, I think it was Herb magazine, and she was taking pictures and stuff, and yeah, that's who it was. And she leans over, or Dennis leans over and goes, "Make sure you don't post that publicly. My boyfriend will get really mad if he sees me with this hot young guy right here." I was dying. But he was always cracking jokes and always super funny.
Yeah, well, twinkle in his eye.
Oh yeah.
Always. Yeah.
So how did you
else?
first meet Dennis?
Well, I went to 1444 Market in '96, but just once, and it was like kind of a huge deal to be walked in there and see, you know, the first shelves of jars of weed and tables of people. I was a little overwhelmed. And so then a bunch of years went by, and a friend of mine from Humboldt, actually, we met in San Francisco at a cannabis conference, and she said, "You've been to the castle? You hang out with Dennis?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "We're gonna remedy that right away," and brought me over, and so that was like two years, maybe 2.5 years ago. Yeah. So then we came often.
Awesome. So, what was your first experience here at the Castro Castle? You said you were on New York, and then
my very first experience here.
Yeah.
Yeah, what? Like my very first experience.
Very first.
Choose the first experience
Yeah.
that you want to
Okay, my first experience.
Allegedly, we always say on this podcast.
There it goes, yeah.
I was living in Reno, over the mountain, and I came here. My brother Neil was also living here, and we came here to. I was in contact with Neil. It was very hard for me to contact Dennis at times. He was never home. And you never got the messages. Or if he did, it was like, "Oh, I heard you called." So we came down here, and Neil said, "Well, if we need Dennis, we're going to go to Cafe Flora." And we went to Cafe Flora. Dennis at the table outside, and there were a bunch of people waiting to talk to Dennis. I was able to cut the line because I was Dennis. And, he got me breakfast, and he said one thing he said to me was like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting a salary now because all the dealers in town got together to pay Dennis a salary to have him stop dealing for a while." And I spent the weekend here at this house upstairs. He had a lot of cats. This kitten adopted me, but I had to leave her behind. And there was all kinds of people coming in and out all weekend long. That was my first experience here. That was a long time ago. And I've had a few others over the years since then, but that was my first experience here.
Favorite experience?
Excuse
What
me?
about your favorite?
Yeah, what was your favorite experience?
Here?
Allegedly.
I think it was the Father's Day that we had here when Mark Rutherford came. We took all the pictures. That was a very good day here.
Doing the calendar.
No, that wasn't the calendar day. That was
December.
no, it was Father's Day. I remember that. It was 2 years ago on Father's Day here. We had a bunch of people here. We all gathered and partied. That was one of my best days here.
Well, thanks for sharing.
So what are some of the things you guys are currently working on? You guys work with a lot of different movements. I know you guys have spoken a little bit about.
Well, a lot of people contact us, but not working with any particular movements at this time.
Sure.
Although I don't like it when I hear people say that, "Oh, Dennis told me to do this," and when in fact I know that he didn't. And Dennis was never in favor of Proposition 64, no matter what people may say.
It's a lot of video to prove it.
Yeah.
I also know that there are people who are saying on the internet that Dennis secretly told them this. Okay. Well, Dennis not secretly told me that he wasn't for it. Okay?
That's actually how I met him.
I applaud you for.
I met you about a year ago at the New West Summit, and Dennis was there.
Yep, that's where I met you. Yeah. And then I met Dennis the first time in San Diego. Yeah.
Oh, in San Diego. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Back before 64 went through.
Right.
So it was 2016, I think it was. Yeah.
October.
Yep. So what's kind of the future of the castle?
Ooh, I really can't say right now.
Oh, sure.
I don't know, so I can't say.
You guys
Mysterious.
It's mysterious. I would say that I hope that Dennis's legacy lives on. I would do whatever I can to help promote that. Dennis was a very generous. Proposition 64, people call it legalization. What happened in Colorado, in Canada, none of this would have happened without Dennis. When he did Proposition 250, none of it. You know, maybe eventually something would have happened, but cannabis would not be looked upon as favorably as it is now. Not that it's looked upon favorably now. So we should tell our elected officials, deschedule cannabis. Do it now. And for those who say that that would not be politically expedient, those are the same people that predicted the last presidential election. And they probably got that one wrong too. So that would be my answer. And every one of us should write a letter to your senators and congressmen, you know, telling them that. And if enough of us do it, they'll pay attention.
So what are,
Ma'am?
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, didn't mean for the dead air. I usually try to chime in, but I was just listening so intently, you know. Yeah, get out there, blow up those emails, you know.
Yeah.
Blow up those, look them up, Google up all your representatives.
the bill SB
SB 829.
SB 829. Tell your Senate representative to support that.
That's the California bill, right?
Yeah, tell them what state, Steve. Not everybody lives in California.
I would also encourage everyone in all 50 states to write your congressmen and senators and tell them that cannabis should be descheduled. Just
Not
don't-
rescheduled, not made
Yeah.
lower on the schedule.
just taken off the list.
schedule. The whole schedule should be blown up, but before
Right.
we get to that, get cannabis
Right,
off
just
of it, at
take it
least.
off the list. That's what should be done. That's what Dennis would have wanted. If anyone wants to help promote the legacy of Dennis Perone, write this letter in the name of Dennis Perone.
Mm,
Say in the
Nice.
name of Dennis Perone,
deschedule that shit.
deschedule it now. That would be a fitting end to Dennis's legacy. Because very few people, I talk to people who are in the cannabis industry, and that in here in California, that would not exist without Dennis, and they have no idea who he was.
Mhm.
So I think a fitting legacy would be to have it descheduled in his name.
That's a good.
That's a very good point. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a strong point right there.
Yeah.
All you millionaires out there complaining about only having to keep your cash because you can't use the bank wouldn't have all that cash without Dennis.
That's right.
And Dennis had taken a vow of poverty. I mean, basically being arrested all those times, being a front runner, a leader. People were gonna take it away from him, the government, the police, whatever. So and I think also because morally it worked to not be an accumulator, but to actually be part of this flow. So money came through his hands and it went out. He was the point, but he didn't hold it. He didn't hoard it. Right?
No, Dennis did not.
That's how you build an economy, by
He
spending the
gave
money.
it away freely to those in need.
Yeah. And they spend the money.
The money has come up before. I got to tell you, Dennis did not get rich. He did not leave behind an inheritance. Dennis gave his money to those in need.
He didn't have a value for money.
Right.
As you say, it quickly came and went, et cetera, et cetera. I personally saw him give a lot of money away
Oh,
to his friends, et cetera, et cetera. No one suffered. But Dennis lived a very simple life. Didn't own a car, didn't do this, he didn't travel extensively. Simple wardrobe, simple home, simple friends, et cetera, et cetera. The value of money was the same thing. The value of money, cannabis. You gave it away. You shared it with people. So he never. As long as I'm with him, I never saw him have a value for that.
He's talking about he'd have a joint in one hand and $5 in the other, or in his pockets, and he'd be like, "All right, what do you need?" And
That's
sometimes
exactly
people
right.
needed a joint, sometimes people needed $5, and sometimes they needed both.
Yeah.
You know, and that was
That's
like
right.
he was ready. You know, and that's how he took care of folks.
Well, this is really great because so many people are getting insight to Dennis from people that actually knew him. This is awesome. Yeah, Steve, you're right. Yeah, this is a Awesome.
We've talked.
Everybody can be in the picture, just talking when they want to.
We've talked twice about Dennis on the show. First when he, we thought he was gonna leave us, and then later on when he actually did. And yeah, it was really nice to actually get the firsthand experience here at his home, and with a whole bunch of people that have also helped support him and help get us all to where we're at now. There's a lot of people that don't understand how this movement even got started, or why we even have medical cannabis to begin with, and it's really cool to actually educate everyone about that, and it's not something that's often talked about. That's a shame.
One of the things that, if I can share one story, I wasn't there at the time, but in knowing all the stories, that the first dispensary, one of the dispensaries was actually, they didn't go out to build a dispensary. They wanted to run a medical defense in court. So what they wanted was to get arrested. And so they set up like this right here, and they put up a sign that said Brownie Mary's Dispensary, and Dennis sat with a scale, and they called in the press, and they had people come, and Dennis weighed weed, and they sold it in front of the press. And they were like, dude, the feds are going to come, the cops are going to come, and we're going to go to court, and we're going to run the medical necessity defense, because that's actually how they got the glaucoma case, right? With it, where the government grows weed and gives it to patients to this very day. In case you didn't know, hopefully you knew that. It's some bullshit. And so he wanted to. It's very. And so they wanted to run this medical necessity defense, but the no one came. The cops didn't come, and the feds didn't come. What happened was the TV station called and said, our phone's ringing off the hook. And Dennis like, what do you mean? And he said, all these people are saying, where is it? Because I need it, or my friend needs it. Where do we send them? And he and all the community were like, oh shit, we have patients. Like, we need a place that's bigger than my apartment to go and actually serve these patients. And so that was, part of, and so he rose to the occasion. And I think that's, what's inspiring to all of us, is when we see each other really rise to the occasion and grow and take risks. And, he didn't do it alone, and he would say that all the time. And he was still also that figurehead that took a lot of the heat, as leaders do. And he did it, for everybody, for all of us,
Incredible. So,
Does anyone have any other stories about Dennis they want to share?
We're filled here with. We are here in a room with a whole bunch of people who know and love Dennis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come up.
Dan.
Come up. We're gonna bring Dan up.
This is a 3-hour show, y'all. I mean, we can fit everybody in.
She said hi.
It's really cool having a bunch of different guests.
This is Dan.
Wait, remember what I said early on about dysfunctional? And we'll prove that point as each personality goes on. So you just.
Hi, I'm Dan Heckel.
We're also joined today by Dennis's dog, Taffy.
The great Taffy.
From Christine.
So I kind of know my history and everything with Dennis. Is my time is kind of from his retirement. I met him in early 2000, just after we closed 1444 Market. Everything was, kind of wrapping up, and he was starting to go into retirement. So I don't really know a lot of, I wasn't there, Wayne was there, everything he did is kind of, I always knew him as kind of the, a god in retirement, so to touch with the castle, I lived here in 2006 and 2007, just as he was starting to turn it into the bed and breakfast. And it has 9 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, and 4 kitchens. So the castle isn't an understatement. It holds true. Dennis in retirement. God, just always in sweats and a t-shirt, just running the castle, you know, watering all the plants. If the garden of social change, the house, it is all, you know, that's kind of all about. And if you wander through in the pictures you get, you really see all what the garden is. Tons of people, you know, Burning Man is a killer thing. People would come to the bed and breakfast and fill the whole place for Burning Man. Like Australians and Irish people, and just I think they were the two biggest ones. But we get you know, everything from anything that's I'm trying to think, all the different activism things. You know, people would rent out the whole house for different. Let me think of them all. I of course, because one keeps coming up, is the sex workers convention. That was really interesting for having them. They're very interesting. You know, they actually had times when they were allowed to use the bathroom, and they also used their dishwasher to wash their dildos, which was very shocking. Dennis pulled them out, and it was funny because it was shocking, but Dennis looked and he was like, which ones he wanted to take. It was really funny. But, you know.
There was a, Dan, tell them about the tub that was there.
The hot tub.
Hot tub and some of the,
so the hot tub used to get rented out. You know, as one thing with the bed and breakfast, Dennis was all about renting out rooms by the hour. If you wanted to, you know, you wanted the space for a short time, he was more than happy, you know. But the hot tub getting rented out for personal porn videos, you know, just between a couple, was very common. Like, you know, it was strange. And it was always very interesting because those ones were very loud. So all the neighbors, like, so it's really interesting. The castle is surrounded by two buildings, and on the left side we have a sheriff lieutenant. On the right side we have a fire lieutenant. Always said like those are our two chaperones, because there's this like major pot house across the street from the middle school. So we have proper, like, it's like almost like they were, you know, sent to us, like, to keep things in line. Let's see. Really funny. I ended up leaving this house to move to England. We had some people that their cafe on the corner would send people over here for the bed and breakfast. It was really cool. And at the time, the only thing available was we had like a 10 by 12 tent on the back deck that we would put a king size bed in and a 35-inch TV. It was really like elegant for being a tent on the back deck, you know. But it's where these guys end up staying. And it was just the best thing. And they came back after Grand Canyon tour, and both times said I should come stay on their couch. So the second time I sold everything and bought a ticket. So that was like, and Dennis just like the wisest words, you know. Dennis, just before I left on that, he says, you know, never say no to anything. You know, anything anyone wants to offer is going to be like, it's their blessing, they're giving, they want to, you know. It was, and yeah, some great adventures, but some awful food, you know. Things that I was in Poland for 3 months, and they're just like, oh, you're here for we're having dinner. Like, they would always have it like sitting waiting for if a guest show up, like, oh, it's dinner time. And yeah, a couple of times you just can't ask what you know. A couple of times they won't tell you what. Sorry, but I think yeah. Anyway, I moved back in here in 2010 when the bed and breakfast was getting a little unruly. He would always rent to the locals during the off season, and because he's so giving, like, you know, you can do anything you want as long as you keep it in your room. But the locals would take advantage of that, and they it kind of just got to be a crazy place there. And anyway, got the place back on its feet, and I managed it for 5 years, and helped with the remodeling, adding bathrooms. You know, the most important thing is to have an extra bathroom, you know, especially with all these people. And then yeah, just Dennis happy as a clam. He's just wandering around, you know, barking orders and making sure everyone's. We always had one of the rooms was always for a live-in worker. I don't know the politically correct way, if I could say, like, you know. Anyway, they did everything. It was not everything, to help clean the rooms. You know, there's always a free room aside from the managers. You know, happy as a clam though, man. Just yeah.
Is one point. If someone were in need.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
rainy season.
If someone were in
Anyone was allowed. Okay, so the thing with Dennis is everybody knew that if you were homeless and you just came to town, you could stop by the castle, you get a joint, you get a warm shower, and like at least one night sleep, one night stay. You know, he had 4 couches in the living room above us, which was like, so we had the whole bed and breakfast, and then there were the couches, and the couches were like $10 to $15 a night. You know, so lots of growers, lots of activists, lots and lots of people, you know, stay on those couches. But they were always open for free to, you know, people when it's raining. Or he'll pack the whole living room, you know, with 10 people in the pouring rain. You know, if they're, you know, they're just out for whatever reason, or yeah, he just never stopped giving, never. You know, it's yeah, all the way until the very end. And that's the thing with no money, you know, he stayed so, you know, he still sold tons of money, or tons of pot, and always had tons of money, but it was always going, mostly go back in the house. The house isn't remodeled for 30 years. So that's just a constant, you know, sucker of the money. But he gave to everyone, any problem, you know, people would call and say, you know, they're in jail, and he would, you know, spend the time. He'd always send money and put money on their books, and you know, he would offer, you know, any time in court that, you know, he could help. Yeah, even he's lots, you know, just always giving advice. You know, I just remember him on the phone all the time, you know, with people just all over the country, different problems. I mean, he never really retired. He just stopped the club. You know, he still sold at home. He still was, you know, the man with almost all the answers. I'm gonna say, you know, if not all of them, that, you know, because there's just, you know.
I'm not sure what Dennis could retire from, because I know, yeah, what we were doing at 1444, running a cannabis dispensary, taking care of people. Well, I'm not sure that was considered work. It was nothing from 9 to 5. All of us that were there were volunteers.
Okay, so the farm, then he had a job.
Pardon?
The farm was a job.
Are you kidding? Listen, going up there and getting out of the city and doing these things. I was looking at some photos of us out there, big old me in the dirt. Boy, that was a rare picture. But we loved it up at the farm.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, we
Just
loved
being
it.
Dennis was a job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What?
Being Dennis.
Oh, but he did it so well. He did it so well.
Yeah.
It was a lifestyle.
Oh my Lord, he did it so well.
Oh yeah.
So you actually just gave me part of the answer I was asking earlier. What is Castro Castle? You just gave an excellent summary of what Castro Castle has been all these years.
Yeah,
it's a magical place.
Yeah, super magical. Everybody from all over the world. I've met, you know, more people than I'll ever meet, you know, just in this house, and, you know, in the 6 years that I was here. And even the other 2 years that I was here as well. I guess it's a lot of time, but like an incredible amount of people. Really cool. And then
I would say also this: anyone that had anything to do with cannabis in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, and through 2000, but especially before 2000, when Prop 19 was considered in 64, had to have gone through the castle at least once. I mean, all the time I've known the people, the names of the people who have been through this building. It is a who's who of what has to be considered the cannabis movement.
Yeah.
Eddie Lepp has just been through here. Steve Covey, just to throw those things up. Ed Rosenthal, Laura Costa, a whole lot of other people that have been out here.
Harvey Milk. I mean,
Harvey Milk was through here.
This
place, Terrence Hallinan, the former district attorney, Ross McCaramy, the former sheriff. I mean, people have had a name, came through here, and I think one, out of love and respect for Dennis, that truly got him through here.
Yeah.
And also too, we got him high most of the time.
Did he have a sign-in book?
Somebody
Cannabis.
What's that? Did you sign in?
What's that?
When you came to the castle, did you sign in? Like
No.
a sign-in book, like like a register?
You'd almost think you need to, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been awesome, right? If they'd had just like when you go to a funeral or, you go to whatever and you sign in.
Oh,
They
God,
always have
we
whoever
had
came.
one, you know, they would have to be changed so often. It was just.
Oh, yeah, you'd have a shitload of books to store, yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Okay, just a thought. We don't have to go off on that.
A funny story just with how many people in the house. There's being very compassionate house, we get drama at the house. So we're renting to a woman, a local. Dennis liked her. She was really big and bubbly, and a big personality. And she answered the door one day, and a cop ran up after her. And she actually, I guess, had a warrant. So these guys set up an online thing, and they were going to hook up with her or whatever, And they came running up in the house, and the guy came up, and we all kind of freaked out. The table's full of people. Of course, we're always smoking. It's always the table. You got to take pictures of the kitchen. That's the famous meeting place of all powers. Oh my God. Anyway, the guy's on his phone, and there's in the living room. There's I think there's 4 bedrooms that pop out, and then a big bathroom. And the guy came up and he pulled his badge out and he said who he was. And then he's on the phone. He immediately gets on the phone as we get on the phone to call the police. He gets on the phone and he said, I need backup. There's people coming from everywhere, because the house is just so full of people, And I think at any given time, there's 14 people living here. So it was the funniest thing, because just the fear of because everybody's shooting down out of all these different rooms, and it's so the house. So a little bit of history with the house. It's actually originally 2 units, 1-bedroom apartments each. So the base,
like a hostel.
yeah, and it is now 9 bedrooms. So
it counts as a hostel.
a lot has changed. It's I love other people's expressions with or just when they recall the memory of the house, because they're just it never stops. You just go in and you go and you go and you go and you come down and you go and you go and you go and you go. There's black lights here, and there's this, and there's a big hot tub here, and then you keep going, and just it's really. It's just an amazing place.
I think what makes it, at least for me, every time I come in here, is the energy.
Yeah,
There is really so much energy. And again, I go back to the people who I have met and over the many years of coming through these doors.
Yeah.
And as you say, all over the world, we've had press in here from all over the world. And there's energy. But one of the things about the energy here, again, as we did at my dispensary on Divisadero or Dennis's, or once, we didn't judge anything. You were here to enjoy some conversation, to share some fellowship, obviously to share some very good cannabis, whatever form that may take. And many times it took a lot of form, but that was the energy. And I hope that some of these, you're out there in the East Coast, get out here sometime to San Francisco, or people that hear about this to come out here. I mean, if we had people out here right now that came out here and sat down with some of us, we might be able to educate them either further about what cannabis is or what compassion and caring is for one another. Because that's the thing that's, I think, a key about this building. There is so much love and compassion in all of the years that we've been through here. Just amazing.
And always accepting, visitors. Dennis's widow, John Entwistle, runs the castle now, and he's a bucket of knowledge. He's got a lot of history here. Obviously, they were only married for 3 years, but they've been together for 30 years. So, that. Something to touch on in his, in his later days. I had the pleasure of kind of volunteering and being his caretaker in the end, and some of the things that I don't know, but he's been like my advisor for the last 18 years. Like he's and my best friend, he all these things, but the different advice you get, when someone's, making it through, which he kicked cancer, by the way. He was diagnosed 2 Christmas Eves ago, unfortunately. And he was, God, when it all gone, maybe October of last year, I think, October 26th. Anyway, an incredible man that went through this horrific event, lung cancer and fighting everything. Even when he was sick, he was still so compassionate. Like he always wanted to make sure that everybody was still being taken care of, as he was going to take care of everyone. It was through everything, it was never, even when he needed everybody, he was never one to ask for help, and of course, even when he really needed it, he wouldn't. But he would still step out of, okay, I'm here in hospice, but I'm worrying, just constantly about, the rest of the world. And, he's just always would stay on Facebook and, just really incredible. But, in the end, he's getting money in from when he came out. So everybody look up like photos of Dennis. The really cool thing is that he left us, so he had no hair through his cancer, but he lasted so much past getting cured of the cancer. He had his full head of hair back, which is so dope. Like he was one of the things that made him happy. But anyway,
you have to add something too. And for those of you, most of us sitting in this room, we're very much aware of it. His sense of humor never left.
Oh no, my God!
I mean,
no
matter. And I was with Dennis. As a matter of fact, a lady sitting next to me, Laura Coster, and I saw Dennis. Laura,
It's okay.
can we see
No.
it? No. All right, Laura Coster and I. Dennis died on a Saturday. Laura and I were out at the hospital on a Friday to pay our last respects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And even though Dennis was unconscious and having some difficulty, I certainly felt his spirit, and especially when I touched him, I knew I was touching my friend, and I knew also too it may be for the last time because I saw my friend fade away. But I remember helping him, as he say, up these steps, and he'd wait and get up these steps and finally get seated, et cetera, et cetera. And he'd take a hit out of something, but his sense of humor came right through. No matter how he was feeling, he
always
still had a good sense of humor.
So all the way into in hospice. So he was in hospice at the VA out at Land's End. Really, really good facility, really good people running it. He was giving joints to the other veterans.
Yeah.
He was always asking to bring me joints. And, it was just he was the greatest thing. It's at the point he was doing more edibles because it was lung cancer is.
I don't mean to interrupt. Could you describe for the listeners what his first hotel room or the room looked for when he was in the hospital on the 4th floor of the VA? All the things that were on the door, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also too, I asked the staff early on when I went out there to visit. They're slowly starting to put up things. I said, you know who this man is or was, et cetera, et cetera. And as time went by, they learned, but people were bringing it, tell them what that is. It's a great room. So we had to make him comfortable at home.
Yeah. So we got really lucky for a very unfortunate event. His brother Brian and I took him in on the 21st of April last year, and we almost lost him, the morning of the 22nd. And he even, as he tells his brother Jeff, he said I died. It's or maybe it was you that noticed the blip. Or anyway, there was a moment that was said, you know, and Dennis kind of said from that moment, you know, that he did die, but it was, they said he had, you know, a couple of weeks. So they gave him the biggest private room in the whole place. So, you know, whether he, you know, we all believed, and we're still strong, firm believers since he got through the cancer, you know, that, and he made it through that weekend, which was just, you know, a miracle. And he actually was in there for another 5 months, which was really funny. So, yeah, and he more or less was kicked out because and it was really funny watching, because as they have this protocol, you know, and all the nurses in like 3 months in, they're just like, well, what do we do? He won't take his morphine anymore. And, you know, they give the polite, you know, comfortable morphine, like, and that's, you know, when you're really going to end. It was really funny, you know, but
pulled me aside twice, telling me, we don't think your brother has more than a few hours left.
Yeah, in the beginning it was beyond ridiculous. But so the idea was, Dennis, the house here has always been lots of colors, lots of everything, so we started decorating his room. Of course, first we brought some of the propaganda explaining, you know, Dennis. So everybody that walked by, you know, we had one of the big things on the front door. And, you know, a lot of his awards, and as well as disco lights and tons of flowers. It was
food.
Yeah. So the food was only so good there, of course. So we would sneak out, like, to see, like, I think, God, after like the first month, once he like regained his strength back from everything, still wasn't really talking. But we would sneak out, and which he wasn't technically allowed to for another month, and then it was really limited. But we'd sneak out every chance we get, you know. And stupid nurses. One nurse is like, oh, okay, here, but make sure he takes his morphine first. I'm like, that doesn't make too much sense. And we get to the cafe, and he pretty much is, you know, incapable to even eat because they give him too much morphine. So like, and that was like, I think that's what really triggered it for him. He's like, I don't want to be like that. You know, I want to go out and enjoy things. So I think, you know, probably, you know, sneaking him out all those times really kind of helped get him to where he was like, I don't want the morphine. And then that's when it started trailing off, and, you know, everybody didn't know what to do. And it was just like a party place. It was seriously a party place. So many people, and the nurses loved it. They said it's their favorite room to go in, you know? Yeah, it was seriously a party place, and a beautiful location. They have a lot of outdoor space, so I actually had some parties out there on the.
There was a 3-year-old child that would come to the castle, and she was charming. That everyone has fallen in love with this little child, and the grandmother of this child would bring this young child to the hospital, and for all of the time that Dennis and that child, they were together in the bed, hand in hand, playing with one another, et cetera, et cetera. Again, the love and compassion, first of all, sharing that with this little lovely child, but again, the caring, and he loved that. That again had to be healthy for him, had to be, because he enjoyed that little girl.
Yeah,
he really did. Just, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And those of us that came out to visit him, sometimes we smelled like cannabis. I had someone tell me that when
we lit that place up.
So we really did.
So it got to the point where we were always smoking on the patio at the VA, which is government property. You can't smoke pot. Like, nothing is recognized.
They have a smoking room.
Yeah.
Yeah, the smoking room.
But not for smoking pot.
Yeah, they had a smoking room, which was this great little box that they built with an air conditioner, and it had a fan that blew out, up a tube, around, and back in. So, you know, and it got, okay, so Dennis did start smoking again. He was like, you know what, if this is the end, I want my damn cigarette. You know, I just want to be relaxed through the whole thing. Fuck it. And we would smoke outside a lot, but when it was cold, he's like, come on. He's like, let's go have a cigarette. You know you want one. Because he knew if I went in the box with him, it's just like smoking a cigarette, because this shit's just like cigarette. And you get 5 guys in there, and you're just like, you know, I'm like, I want to pass out. But, you know, it's just, you know, yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun times there, but sneaking out was always the best, you know. One time, so he started doing it, his brothers would be correct and you know, by the book, and they would check him out, and he got to the point where he was checked out too much. So his friend Donnie came to take him out, and Dennis is like, no, just go. Just if anyone stops, just go. Just keep going. He's like, what do you mean? So he's pushing his wheelchair, and like the nurses are coming out, and like, no, Mr. Perrone, you have to stay here. And Dennis is like, no, don't listen to him. So Donnie is going, and the nurse stands right in front of them and stops them. And she says, I'm gonna call security. You cannot leave. And Dennis is just like, it's like, no, it doesn't matter. You guys, we're just gonna go out smoke. We're just gonna go smoke. Oh. We're just gonna go out front and smoke. And he like kind of like just totally like tried to chill back and try to like trick them all. And it was just they just weren't having it, you know. But yeah, it was he just, and that was at the end. I think he left like a week early. They were trying to get him out. He had to get approved for everything, and he was over it more than they were over it, of course. So he actually kind of escaped the last bit with a ticket to Vegas. By the way, he went to go see his best friend in Vegas. The first thing he did when he got out of hospice, yeah.
And he was able to get down south to see Southern California, and then there was a farmer lady friend that he got up to farm up north for several weeks, which really was helpful during the time. Yeah. Again, prolonging his life.
We got him to Jerry's too,
and all, et cetera, et cetera.
Lynette Shaw did a really nice thing.
To have these people, and again, Laura Costa, to have Laura and her family provide for Dennis during this time, and Dennis loved it. He loved getting the hell out of Dodge, and I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad he had people that cared about him, and these folks cared about him. They really did. Yeah. Good people.
He always gave to us so much, you know. He saved my life twice, you know. I mean, all not literally, but you know, almost quite. You know, I was just in a really bad place, and he let me move in, and you know, one time losing a big deal on a business deal, like 40 grand. Like, okay, life's over. You got to start. Like, this is totally jacked and new, and he let me stay. I found a job like I think the day before. Anyway, oh no. So I got my truck towed. Dennis took me to go pick up my truck, and we smoked 3 joints while we were waiting. They were just totally baked, totally just waiting. And then finally Dennis was like, okay, I gotta go. I'm sorry. You know, I gotta go back. So I was like, okay. So I'm standing there just totally baked, and the business right next door was this big air compressor shop. So it was big, giant colored boxes, and I was baked, you know. I'm in construction, so I was very curious and everything. You know, I got offered a job by these people while I was completely baked, and I don't know how. Like, I was so bloodshot. Like, I was like, okay, I mean, cool. If you guys want me, yeah. I mean, I can do the job. They gave a business deal went bad on a house remodel, 40 grand, and that was.
I don't know if you can see this, but you look at that. I don't know if you can show that.
Oh,
that's Dennis with Talia. I hope you could. That young girl. That's Dennis, and I hope you can see that. Look at that right there. You. That young lady.
When he was taking the chemo, that wasn't.
Yeah. He was taking chemo at that time, right? And they were inseparable. They just always in the lap. That was always great. Dennis, that was better medicine than that other stuff.
We have some others. We should get you guys a lot of the clips and stuff if you guys want to throw. I don't know. Yeah. Good. You know, a lot of the better memories. So he did a thing with Netflix that's going to be coming out in a couple of years, maybe next year now.
They say November.
Oh, November.
Yeah, they say November. Yeah.
So they've been doing a thing on. I forget the basis of it, because it was started out as you know, kind of the growth of pot in California and kind of the history with it and everything. And I think it really turned into, it's going to be more of a documentary on Dennis Perrone, and then everything else is going to be kind of surrounding it. As far as I think the depth that these producers, you know, jumped into, you know, they were really kind of part of the family for, you know, a couple months there, you know, at the end. So that'll be really cool, you know, whenever that comes out.
You know what I kind of found? I think they were amazed by the energy that they were feeling. You know what I mean? They kind of felt this is. I can feel the compassion here. I can feel it. And they come over here, and we're always medicating. You know, you're on and I wish these folks let's see what I'm dabbing here, by the way, just in case you wonder why. They became almost, in those times, part of the family because the cameras were around, et cetera, et cetera.
But they were here so much time when the cameras were rolling.
Exactly,
I mean, that's why I think
Yeah.
a producer's really able to tell their story because
Exactly,
they can
yeah,
add in
yeah,
with all
yeah.
the clips. But
and they could get up close and personal with us and who we were, what we've done, and with Dennis, and then all the people that came to visit him and the various characters that. Oh, we got characters.
Yeah.
I mean, relatives, you know.
There, we had Cara and Laura, huge helps when they did their shooting outdoors up in Fairfax when they're what's her collective called?
Marin Alliance.
Marin Alliance with Lynette Shaw did a big thing there and in his honor had big posters. One of the only places you can really old hippie town, you know, you can put big posters all over the town. You know, the Dennis Peron's coming. Most places, you know, conventions, you can only just at the door, you know, or something.
One of the things that Dennis loved to do was to host parties here. Thanksgiving, you know, and Christmas and all.
Huge.
And the last, I remember we were just here the other day watching film of my 70th birthday party here. And when we partied here, those rooms upstairs, they got full. And the kitchen was full. And there's a whole lot of food out there. And there's a whole lot of cannabis here. And go downstairs, we had some music, et cetera, et cetera. He loved to. And as a matter of fact, for one of his parties, a young lady that is sitting here in this room performed and just left people speechless. On her ability, also too, she's very cute and talented. But a good time. And then Laura Costa and Cara hosted events here. Dennis loved to party. Birthday parties, his mind, somebody he loved, and everybody was welcome. I mean, everybody was welcome.
Everyone out there, please, you know, put forth on the calendar. You know, it's a great item to have. The photo shoot was done here at the house. You know, they brought black lights, which some of the photos you see that are how when Dennis was living here, it was over the top, way over the top. You know, the black lights in the back, I think we had something like 13 double bulb black light, 4-foot black lights out there. And it was it's amazing, but they brought enough light back to you know, bring some of the brightness out. Yeah, this is a perfect one. To see all the colors. This is a cottage that's in the back, which was the old carriage house. You know, so all of the photos in it are different parts of the backyard. You know.
This is this month, so here we are.
Yeah,
Jean
so
Pond
this is the mural
there.
that runs down the whole corridor.
Oh yeah, behind her.
So
and there's Brownie Mary. That's Brownie Mary.
So this is all a timeline depiction through Dennis, his bills. I think it's starting with God, what's that first one? Oh, look out there.
And there's the photo we were talking about, Dennis Peron's Garden of Social Change right there.
Yeah. And this is Dennis.
There's Dennis.
Super stud. I think he's in his 20s there.
There he is. Later on. I don't know if you see him with his brothers. It'll focus.
Yeah, it's coming through okay to give up people a good idea, but that's the best you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Because support's a good cause too.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
and it gives the beginning's a really nice story of Dennis for anyone. I'm sure, you know, everybody knows to some degree, you know, Dennis for anyone I'm sure that's watching. But to see, you know, or to hear, you know, someone else's perspective, you know, and kind of I just say it's written really well. So it's a nice little blurb that says everything. So yeah,
it's not surprising that he had awesome parties. I mean, I that kind of would go without saying, I would say at this point. But yeah, one can imagine how. And I love the black lights because I'm not a spring chicken myself. And, I partied a little bit in some rooms with nothing but black lights in my pit. You know.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool for me for nostalgia. You know. Well, and Wayne, he's older. At least Wayne's older than me for a change. Somebody's older than me.
Yeah, but listen, I have a confession to make. Because I'm around a lot of people. that have been with me for a while. I've come over here now about 25 years or something like that. And damn, every time I left here, I'm high. And sometimes if it was a baked good, if it was tincture, if it was hash, if it was vape, it was something. I've lived here, and I look around and I'm thinking, these people are not trying to corrupt me, but I'm out of here high. So that's a consistency for myself that I've always enjoyed that energy. I'm high.
I wanna go to what they were saying earlier too. I know ever since I moved to San Francisco and they've invited me to Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve and Halloween and all the rest, and it's been a blast to spend my holidays with them since I don't have any family out here, and it's been I've been super grateful for that, and I can't thank them enough for that.
Well, again, just sharing the energy and love.
Yeah.
Really, that's all.
Yeah. New Year's. So gosh. We lost him on the 26th.
January 27th.
27th.
January.
New Year's. Okay, can I talk about chicken? Maybe not.
Probably be on the safe side.
No. New Year's. Killer this year. I think more than most, because it wasn't a time to party yet. We had really nice party that was kind of thrown, so he didn't really have to do anything. But a lot of fun. We did. I think we did some more photos that day.
Yeah.
We had a big, huge thing out front. We kind of wanted to, show everybody that he's still here. There's this big crazy house with lots of people. So we made a huge scene out front.
I got pulled over after I left.
Oh no! So there you go. Everyone was obviously watching. Oh gosh, the police used to watch the house. Right. There's always this is high profile house. But anyway, so real quick at the front, a little bit of history with the house. The house was built in 1889 across the street. They picked it up and moved it when they built the school. It was kind of interesting. Which it got its carriage house in the back because the people that had enough to move it also had horses and buggies back then. So
it didn't have a car. Yeah.
It was more about upper scale, which is they gave up a lot of space just that. Anyway, it started in the beginning with marijuana leaf on a Red Cross, which was, I think, less than politely instructed by the Red Cross to Dennis to remove. And then it was turned into, had a beautiful Buddha painted on the front, which is the same artist that's painted his mural along the side. If you have a chance, get a couple of those clips. It's just amazing, pieces of time. And then now it's done in when the plaque was put up for Gilbert Baker, it was done into now wavy flags, which is really kind of, we had Gilbert was here, I forget when, maybe 3 years before he passed, and we asked him to paint a flag, and he painted a big wavy rainbow flag, which I believe is on one of the calendar months. I noticed. But so that's why the front of the house now, if you look up the Castro Castle, which is on Google as the Castro Castle, it's I believe it says it's the bed and breakfast is now closed. But anyway, now it's really cool. And the next plaque that's going to go up that's planned is obviously in Dennis's memory. To kind of lock in that memory to the front. We used to have tour buses used to come by all the time. They would stop. You had your certain tours that weren't, they were a little conservative, and they just wouldn't come this way. It's going to be, forever. We're hoping to keep it as as much of a museum-ish. Everyone is regular, but like regular tenants, but still going to have, like I say, guests who are always welcome. So when you can kind of walk through and get a.
I do know of 3 cannabis tours that now include this stop. Among the other tours of Magnolia and other places here, but this now is included on 3 tours of that. I offered one time, and I don't know why, to go with them. I said, let me surprise these folks and sit along with these people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I still have that offer out, but this is still people that come by. And the cannabis tour, because this is where this energy's. Oh my Lord.
So if you guys ever make it out to San Francisco, definitely stop by in person. But the cannabis tours, I wish we had some to plug because they're really cool. There's actually a free one. So a really cool young man he just loves cannabis this much, you know, and he's giving he gets free tours. So check those out if you come as well. The castle is incredible. Dennis was incredible. You know, you always have his energy when you come here. You know, it's something that'll always stay. So
when the tourists come, you guys let them open the door and let them come through and look at the place?
Yeah, so one of them actually comes on a schedule. So his partner's been kind of working with them on that.
Right. Yeah.
And well, John, his widow. So yeah, so I mean, it's some of them just come by and they'll stop and talk about it, and they'll stand out front, and if they're noticed, on the cameras, just.
And if they let us know ahead of time,
if
they let us know ahead of time that somebody who's going to be in California and in San Francisco, we'd be more than happy to greet them here and share some ideas and some time with them. I know that we've got one of the things too about you talking about the folks that live, the people I found over the last several years, even the people that came here were really kind of special people. And I think after a while, Dennis was just, I mean, he knew everybody. He really, and they came from all there, but in the last several years, there seemed to be a draw of special, and I think maybe because Dennis's energy was going to be taken away from us, and so he was impacting those of us that have been tutored from him and love him and have been by his side, and I think that's remarkable. And I know for myself and others, if there are people ever want to come out, contact myself or contact these people, I'll be more than happy to visit with you. And also, too, please expect to get high.
This is Wayne Justman speaking. Of course, he's.
Hey, and leave a donation too. They can use it.
Does anyone else want to say kind of here in closing? We'll wrap things up. Appreciate everybody's time. All right. Well,
Why don't you fill us out? I'm gonna go get on this circle.
Well, thanks everybody for watching. We're gonna wrap things up here. A little bit shorter episode than normal. Actually, we ended up almost going on to normal time. But I gotta drive back to my house here before too long and get everything settled. So I will see you guys again next week, and appreciate everyone here at the castle. Wayne, Jeff, Laura, and Cara, and Joe, and sorry, I'm trying to blank. Jill and Megan, Dan, and everyone else, and everyone that's Dennis has had an impact on his life on. I really appreciate all of them taking time out of their life to tell this story and tell Dennis's story, and to help educate everyone on how the medical movement got started, and why we're able to do all the things that we're able to do now in the cannabis industry to begin with. So thanks everybody for your time. I appreciate it, and we'll see you guys again next week. Some more awesome content. Take care.